As Buddhists, we're aware of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. This is fundamental to Buddhism. But did you know that there's a middle part between the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path? It's called the Five Remembrances or Five Reflections. The Five Remembrances are a part of the daily practice of millions of Buddhists around the world, and there's a good reason for this. The Five Remembrances are basically our foothold into the Noble Eightfold Path. When we understand and contemplate these Five Remembrances, they help us with walking in the Noble Eightfold Path. It's giving us that foundation. Now, when we go over the Five Remembrances, they can sound very dreary and sad to really understand, but we need to do it. And that's why the Buddha actually gave the teaching on the Five Remembrances, because we keep this so inside us that we don't want to accept what these Five Remembrances are, and thus trying to walk that Noble Eightfold Path. It becomes almost like a philosophy or just like a way of life. You know, it doesn't really mean anything besides, I'm trying to make my life better. The Five Remembrances are saying, no, right in your face, this is why we need to follow it. This is what you need to understand, and this is why we're doing it. So there's going to be a free poster that you can get, that you can just put this up as your daily practice for the Five Remembrances. I'll have the links inside the description for this video, but I'm going to go over the Five Remembrances and kind of explain them to you as well. So the first one is, I am subject to aging. There is no way to avoid aging. And this sounds very, well, of course, I know I'm going to age, right? But, you know, not really. It's actually probably worse in our modern era. We're trying to constantly extend our lives and find different, you know, diets and supplements and medicines and everything else to kind of make us live forever. But we don't. We are, you know, biological sentient beings, and we are going to expire at some point. We're going to die. So understanding we're subject to aging is important, and not just to say it, you know, and recite it, but to really contemplate what that means. The next one is, I am subject to ill health. There is no way to avoid illness. So what the Buddha is talking about here is, well, I know I'm going to get sick, but we're talking about being sick. So everything is impermanent, just like the first one, aging, right? So like, you know, my age is impermanent. I'm going to keep aging eventually and then die, but I will never just be in perfect health at all times either, nor will I be sick at all times either. So ill health is very impermanent also. But that illness we're talking about is the final. So like, you know, eventually I'm going to die of some illness, you know, so there's diseases, there's injuries, there's different things that occur which creates this illness that eventually leads to our death. We just don't die, we die of some type of illness, some type of cause inside our body. I'm going to die. There's no way to avoid death. Very, very depressing, right? And it's also something where you may be rolling your eyes, well, I know I'm going to die, but we push it so far down. We push it so far down that we basically are not mindful in our everyday lives. We believe we will live forever. We don't understand the transitory nature of our lives. And so we live with this impression that, well, I'll live forever. I'll live a very long time, but we never know when, you know, illness or anything else may take that life away from us. So this human life is very precious to us, and especially as it deals with Buddhism, it's a rare opportunity to be human, to be able to practice Buddhism. Everyone and everything that I love will change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. Also sounds very depressing, but what we're talking about here is the impermanent nature of all conditioned things. All things are impermanent. There's impermanence. That's a very key term inside Buddhism. So what we're saying here is, no matter what, we're going to be separated from, you know, our loved ones and things we love eventually, or at different times, you know, whether that's, you know, through our normal lives or at the end, we're going to be separated from them. And it's a very, very harsh, you know, reality and truth to really contemplate. But if you think about it, it also shows us, as we contemplate this more and understand it more, the time we have with our loved ones, how we treat them, how we talk to them, show our actions, etc. And then finally, my only true possessions are my actions. I cannot escape their consequences. And Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh also likes to say this is this is basically my actions are my foundation, the ground on which I stand. And that's a very good place to put it as well, a good way to say it. So what we're talking about here is really the culmination of what we're talking about. It's saying that your actions, essentially your karma, is the only thing that you actually have control over and what continues on. So we talk about not just impermanence inside Buddhism, but also non-self. We don't have a permanent, everlasting self. You know, there's no such thing. The only thing that continues on is our actions. So this is very much in our face about it in a good way. It's saying, you know what, all this sounds very depressing, but you know what you do have control over? Your actions, how you engage in this life. That's what you have control over. And just like Thich Nhat Hanh says, this is the ground, my actions are the ground which I stand upon. And that is something truly powerful. And that starts us off on the Noble Eightfold Path. Because understanding these truths can be very depressing until we truly understand their deep meaning and understand them. And that prompts us to really walk the Noble Eightfold Path because we want to achieve nirvana. We want to get rid of these three fires, three poisons, so we don't have dukkha, you know, this unsatisfactoriness, this suffering in our life. We want to escape the cycle of birth and death. We want to be away from that when we understand this. And when we understand this, it gets us that foothold into the Noble Eightfold Path, which removes all those attachments, that clinging, that craving. That was the cause of everything, this delusion. So this was the 5 Remembrances. There's going to be a free poster you can download with this as well. But I'd like to hear your thoughts about this. Do you do this in your daily practice? Let me know in the comments below.